My cousin faked stage 3 cancer and took $20,000 from me, then used my face in a GoFundMe saying I was an addict. When I confronted her, she whispered, 70% of the money is going to be used to pay you back though. Like that justified it. I just walked away. That was 11 months ago. This morning, she was standing outside my apartment in tears. My entire family is filled with morons who mean well. When I was 17 and got into a car accident, my dad showed up to the hospital with a congratulations balloon because he thought any major event deserved a party. And most of my family actually believes that Australia is a fake country, filled with paid actors. So there was only one family member that I felt close to, my cousin, Samantha. She agreed with me that our family was completely effed, and we'd joke about being the ones to end the bloodline. Sometimes I even noticed her taking advantage of our family's idiocy, but I thought she'd never do that to me. Fast forward to last year. I realized I hadn't heard from her in a few months, so I gave her a call. She told me the 3 words you never want to hear. I have cancer. It was stage 3, aggressive. She said she didn't want anyone to feel sorry for her, just wanted to tell me before I found out from someone else. Well, money wasn't even a thought. I immediately went to Zelle and sent her $4,000. Not much relative to cancer costs, but I wanted to show her that I loved her, and that we were fighting this together. I didn't see her for a while after that, but I started taking up extra shifts at work so I could send Samantha 30% of my paychecks. It didn't feel like she owed me anything for it. It just felt like the right thing to do. It's for this reason that 6 months later, even when she wasn't replying to any of my texts or calls, I was still sending her money every month. But as I lay awake in bed one night, I had this thought: what if the cancer had progressed and she just wasn't saying anything? I didn't know what to do, so I called my mom. "Oh, honey, you're so silly. She's not sick. I just saw her yesterday." I had to stop myself from tearing my hair out. Of course she'd say that. "Okay, Mom, my bad," I said, before immediately hanging up the phone. Suddenly, I was hit with a wave of responsibility and drove to Samantha's house. I knew by this point she'd probably be balding, so I brought a nice hat as well as some fragrance-free lotion for her skin. When I knocked on the door, I expected to be greeted with a jaundiced, skinny, depressed cancer patient, but then I heard the loud music, accompanied with flashing LED lights, and when the door opened, I was met with a smiley, healthy-as-ever woman. Her hair and skin looked even better than mine. We locked eyes, and I saw a wave of panic wash over her. "Oh, hey, I'm in the middle of throwing a party because I just found out I beat cancer." I could smell the alcohol and tobacco on her breath. I didn't say anything, just glared at her. It was clear she didn't ever have cancer. She looked really uncomfortable, and after 2 minutes of intense silence, she whispered, "I'm sorry." Well, an apology just wasn't good enough. By that point, I had sent her close to $20,000 total. I told her that I considered her indebted to me until she paid me back. She looked down at the ground, as if she was the victim in the situation. I knew if I stayed there, I was going to do something I'd regret, so I just left. And as I drove on the I-95, I thought about how naive I'd been to think I was the exception to her manipulation. One time, when her mom wanted her to get a part-time job, she forged a doctor's note that said she had chronic fatigue syndrome, just so she wouldn't have to contribute to the family. Another time, she borrowed her dad's car and completely scratched it up, then somehow gaslit her dad into thinking he did it himself. When I got home, I knew she wasn't going to pay me back, so I just cut my losses and blocked her on everything. A month later, I was doing pretty well. I suddenly had a lot more money to spend, and life was sweet. I was in the middle of a yoga class when my mom texted, "Honey, I had no idea you were struggling. Trust me, we're gonna get through this together." I was about to ask her what she was talking about, but that's when she sent me a GoFundMe link. On it was my full name and face. "I've been struggling with Molly for 3 years. Please help me quit heart," was the description. I was instantly filled with anger. She had lost me as a source of income, and instead of getting a job, she was telling the whole world that I was a substance addict. I didn't even text her anything, just sent her the link. 70% of the money is going to be used to pay you back, though, she replied, as if it was the most justified explanation. I sighed, and just sent the whole thing to the extended family group chat. I told them everything: the fake cancer, the debt, how that wasn't really me. I expected them to spam text her, accuse her, put her in her place. But 10 minutes later, I had a missed call, then another, and another. After 2 hours had passed, I had 37 missed calls and 99 plus unopened messages, all informing me that I was a horrible person. I sat back in my chair, staring at my phone screen in disbelief. The link to my YouTube video sat there, blue and untouched, while my family members chose to believe Samantha's lies instead of watching the evidence I had gathered. My cousin Morgan called me next, and I actually picked up this time, my finger trembling slightly as I swiped to answer. Morgan didn't yell like the others. Instead, she asked questions, lots of them. She wanted to know my side of the story, which was refreshing after being bombarded with accusations. I explained everything again, how Samantha had pretended to be me, faked cancer, and collected thousands of dollars from our family members. My voice cracked as I detailed how she'd stolen photos from my private Instagram, edited them, and created an elaborate fiction about my supposed illness. I believe you, Morgan said finally. Those 3 words felt like a life raft in the middle of a stormy ocean. I hadn't realized I'd been holding my breath until I exhaled, tears of relief stinging my eyes. With Morgan's help, we started gathering more evidence. She reached out to the hospital where Samantha claimed to receive treatment. No record of any cancer patient with her name existed there. We found the photographer who took the hospital bed photos, a friend of Samantha's who confirmed they were staged in her apartment with some medical props bought online. The photographer seemed genuinely shocked when we explained how the photos had been used. The most damning evidence came from Samantha's ex-boyfriend, Taylor. He sent us screenshots of text messages where she bragged about how easy it was to trick everyone. "These people are so stupid," she had written. "They'll believe anything if you add enough sad emojis." Reading those words made my stomach turn. The casual cruelty was almost harder to process than the scam itself. Armed with this proof, Morgan helped me create a detailed document with timestamps, screenshots, and witness statements. We spent 3 sleepless nights organizing everything chronologically, highlighting contradictions in Samantha's story. We sent it to everyone in the family, but most of them still wouldn't listen. Uncle David even called to tell me I was jealous of a cancer patient and should be ashamed. His words cut deep, especially since he'd been like a second father to me growing up. Our breakthrough came when Aunt Linda, who had donated the most money, finally looked at our evidence. She worked as a nurse and quickly spotted medical inconsistencies in Samantha's story. The chemo port Samantha had shown in photos was in the wrong position. The medication names she mentioned didn't match her supposed diagnosis. The side effects she claimed to experience didn't align with her purported treatment protocol. Aunt Linda was furious. Her normally gentle face hardened with resolve as she organized a family fundraiser, supposedly to raise more money for Samantha's treatment. Samantha couldn't say no without looking suspicious, so she agreed to attend, unaware of the trap being set. The day of the fundraiser arrived. About 40 family members gathered at Uncle David's backyard, the autumn air crisp and cool. Colorful get-well-soon balloons bobbed in the breeze, and a donation box already overflowed with checks and cash. Samantha showed up wearing a headscarf and looking appropriately weak and tired. She hugged everyone, accepting their sympathy with fake tears, her thin frame seemingly fragile as she moved through the crowd. When it was time for speeches, Aunt Linda invited Samantha to speak about her journey. As Samantha stood up and began her rehearsed speech about bravery and gratitude, Linda connected her laptop to the projector. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure everyone could hear it. The backyard fell silent as Linda displayed the evidence on the big screen. First came the hospital records showing no patient with Samantha's name. Then the contradictory social media posts. Samantha at a concert on a day she claimed to be getting chemotherapy. The fake medical bills with inconsistent formatting. The messages from her ex-boyfriend. And finally, a side-by-side comparison of her posts and the real me, showing how she had stolen my identity. Samantha tried to run, but Uncle David blocked the gate. His earlier defense of her transformed into protective anger. Her face turned red, then white. She started crying, real tears this time, and finally confessed. She admitted to everything, the fake cancer, stealing my identity, and scamming the family out of nearly $27,000. The family was stunned. Some cried, others yelled. Aunt Linda, always practical, made Samantha sign an agreement to pay back the money and attend therapy. The family decided not to involve police if she complied with these terms. Samantha moved out of state to live with her grandmother while attending therapy sessions. I watched her leave that day, shoulders hunched, no longer playing the role of brave cancer patient. For 6 months, things were quiet. Samantha sent monthly payments and apologetic texts. The family slowly healed, though some relationships remained strained. I got most of my reputation back, though a few relatives still looked at me suspiciously. I'd catch their sideways glances at family gatherings, their whispered conversations that stopped when I approached. Then Samantha returned. She showed up at a family birthday party looking healthy but troubled. Her hair had grown back to a stylish bob, and she'd gained weight, looking more like her old self. She pulled me aside and whispered that someone was blackmailing her about the cancer scam. She claimed a mysterious person had evidence and was threatening to expose her to her new friends and workplace if she didn't pay them. I almost believed her until I noticed her new designer purse and shoes. Something didn't add up. I asked to see the blackmail messages, but she made excuses about deleting them for her mental health. Her eyes darted away when she spoke, a tell I remembered from childhood when she'd lie about taking my toys. Morgan and I started investigating again. We discovered Samantha had stopped therapy months ago. Her grandmother confirmed she'd moved out, claiming to have a great new job. But when we checked her employment history, we found nothing. The company she claimed to work for had never heard of her. The truth emerged when Samantha's roommate Casey contacted me through social media. Casey had discovered Samantha running a new scam, pretending to be a talent scout and charging aspiring models for portfolio services. When Casey confronted her, Samantha had used the blackmail story as an excuse for needing money quickly. We decided to confront Samantha one last time. Morgan, Casey, and I invited her to coffee at a busy cafe downtown. When she arrived, we laid out everything we knew. At first, she denied it all, then tried the tears again. But when Casey played a recording of Samantha admitting to the new scam, she finally broke down. "You don't understand what it's like to be me," she said, mascara running down her cheeks. "Nothing special about me. No talents, no looks. But when I'm pretending to be someone else, people care. They notice me." I almost felt sorry for her until she tried to steal Casey's wallet on the way out, slipping it into her coat pocket with practiced ease when Casey went to pay the bill. We reported both scams to the police. They didn't arrest her, but the official warning scared her enough to pay back most of the money. Between her payments and what her embarrassed parents contributed, the family recovered about 80% of what was stolen. Samantha was effectively exiled from the family after that. Last I heard, she moved to another state. Sometimes she tries to contact younger cousins on social media, but we've all warned each other about her patterns. As for me, I learned to be more careful. I changed all my passwords, locked down my social media, and checked my credit report regularly. Morgan and I became closer through this whole ordeal. She's now the first person I call when something seems off. The hardest part wasn't the money or the reputation damage. It was realizing how easily someone could pretend to be me, and how readily some people believe the worst about me without even asking for my side of the story. Some relatives still avoid eye contact at family gatherings. Uncle David apologized eventually, but things aren't the same between us. Aunt Linda has become my strongest ally, though, always ready to defend me if anyone brings up the Samantha situation. I still get messages sometimes from strangers who heard about the fake cancer story, but not the truth. Just last week, someone called me a monster for faking cancer. I don't bother explaining anymore. The people who matter know the truth. If there's one thing I've learned, it's to trust actions over words. Samantha was full of convincing stories and emotional appeals, but her actions revealed who she really was. I'm still working on forgiving the family members who turned on me so quickly, but some wounds heal slower than others. For now, I'm focusing on rebuilding my life and helping others spot scams before they become victims. My YouTube channel has become a place where I share stories about identity theft and family fraud. It's not the content I plan to make, but if it helps even one person avoid what happened to me, it's worth it. Last week, my channel hit 50,000 subscribers. I never expected to find a community through such a terrible experience, but there's something healing about turning pain into purpose. The comments section is filled with people sharing similar stories, and I've connected with several victims who were scammed by their own relatives. Some days, scrolling through these messages feels like reading pages from my own diary. The shock, betrayal, and eventual determination to reclaim their lives mirrors my journey perfectly. My latest video about spotting fake medical documents went viral after a local news station picked it up. They interviewed me about family fraud, and while I was nervous to tell my story on TV, the response was overwhelming. People sent messages thanking me for helping them question suspicious fundraisers before donating. One woman wrote that she'd almost contributed her entire savings to her brother's emergency surgery before watching my video and discovering his hospital bills were fabricated. Looking back at how everything unfolded still makes my stomach turn. After discovering Samantha's fake cancer scheme, I knew I needed solid evidence before confronting her. My cousin Jordan helped me gather proof by recording Samantha's contradictory stories about her treatments. He spent weeks documenting her lies, noting how she claimed to be too weak for visitors one day, then posted photos from a concert the next. My Aunt Patricia, who works at a hospital, pointed out medical inconsistencies in the documents Samantha had shown the family. The letterhead was outdated, the doctor's signature looked forged, and the treatment protocols didn't match standard oncology practices. The hardest part was convincing my parents that their beloved niece was lying to everyone. They refused to believe it until I showed them the fake social media accounts she'd created to spread her cancer story and collect donations. Dad went pale when he saw the PayPal statements showing thousands of dollars flowing into her account. Mom started crying, repeating, "But why would she do this?" as if asking enough times would make the answer less painful. We decided to confront her at the family fundraiser she'd organized. Over 60 people had gathered at my uncle's backyard, many wearing Team Samantha t-shirts she'd sold online for $25 each. Neighbors, co-workers, and even her old high school teachers had come to support her fight against a disease she never had. I connected my laptop to the projector meant for her treatment journey slideshow, and instead displayed screenshots of her lies alongside real medical facts. My hands were shaking so badly that Jordan had to take over clicking through the presentation. The silence in that backyard was deafening. Samantha tried to run, but my Uncle James blocked the gate. When cornered, she broke down and admitted everything. No cancer, no treatments, just greed and a desperate need for attention. Her mascara streaked down her face as she sobbed, creating black rivers that seemed fitting for the darkness she'd brought into our lives. The family was split between those who wanted to call the police and those who wanted to handle it privately. In the end, we made Samantha sign an agreement to pay back the money, apologize to everyone she'd deceived, and attend therapy out of state. Her parents were devastated but agreed this was the best solution. They sold their vacation cabin to repay the largest donors, their retirement plans crumbling alongside their trust in their daughter. For 6 months, things were quiet. Samantha moved to Colorado to live with her grandmother and supposedly attended therapy sessions. I started rebuilding my life, though trust didn't come easily anymore. I changed all my passwords, froze my credit, and installed security cameras at my apartment. I jumped at unexpected phone calls and scrutinized every request for help, no matter how small. The hypervigilance was exhausting, but felt necessary. Then came the email. Samantha claimed someone had discovered her past and was blackmailing her. She begged for money to pay them off, saying they threatened to expose her to her new friends and employer in Colorado. A few family members were ready to help her again, but something felt off about her story. The email contained the same grammatical errors she always made, and the urgency felt manufactured, designed to prevent anyone from asking too many questions. I reached out to her roommate in Colorado, Jennifer, who I'd met once during a video call. Jennifer was confused. There was no blackmailer. Instead, she revealed Samantha had been collecting money for a fake charity, claiming to help children with cancer. The irony was sickening. She had even visited a children's hospital to take photos with young patients, telling staff she was a cancer survivor, volunteering her time. With Jennifer's help, we gathered evidence of this new scam, screenshots of donation requests, fake charity websites, and even a recording of Samantha practicing her sad story in the mirror. Jennifer felt terrible for not realizing sooner, but Samantha had fooled us all before. She described how Samantha would cry on cue when talking about her kids and carried a photo album of children she claimed were benefiting from her charity. When confronted with this new evidence during a family video call, Samantha tried to blame Jennifer, claiming she was the mastermind. The lie fell apart when Jennifer showed everyone the notebook where Samantha had written out her scam plans step by step, including calculations of how much money she expected to make and notes about which sob stories generated the most donations. This time, there was no family protection. My uncle called the police in Colorado, and Samantha faced legal consequences for fraud. She was ordered to pay restitution and sentenced to community service. More importantly, she was effectively exiled from our family. Holiday gatherings no longer included discussions about when she might return or whether we should forgive her. Her name became taboo, mentioned only in hushed tones like some dark family secret. Through legal action and the help of Jennifer, who tracked down several victims, I recovered about 80% of the money Samantha had stolen from me. The remaining amount wasn't worth the emotional toll of pursuing it further. The financial loss stung, but the betrayal cut deeper than any monetary value could measure. The hardest part was rebuilding relationships with family members who had initially sided with Samantha. My Aunt Barbara, who once accused me of jealousy, sent a handwritten apology letter that took me 3 days to open. We've slowly started talking again, though our relationship will never be the same. Our conversations remain superficial, carefully avoiding any topic that might lead back to what happened. My cousin Alex, who had been one of Samantha's biggest defenders, still hasn't apologized. He avoids me at family gatherings and changed the subject when I tried to clear the air. Some bridges stay burned, I guess. I sometimes catch him watching me from across the room at family events, his expression unreadable, before he turns away when our eyes meet. The experience changed how I approach trust. I now keep a small circle of people I truly rely on. My friend Melissa, who believed me from the start, helped me set up a secure password manager and taught me about digital privacy. My brother Tom checks in regularly and helped me install better locks and security cameras at my apartment. These small acts of protection have become rituals that ground me when memories of Samantha's betrayal resurface. My YouTube channel wasn't part of the plan, but it's become a lifeline. I started by sharing my own story, then began featuring other victims of family fraud. People send me suspicious GoFundMe campaigns to review, and I've helped identify several scams before they could hurt more people. Each video feels like reclaiming a piece of power that Samantha took from me. Last month, I received a message from Samantha's former best friend, who shared that Samantha has moved to Arizona and is dating someone new. Apparently, she's told him she's a cancer survivor. Old habits die hard, I suppose. I considered warning him, but decided against inserting myself into her life again. There's only so much responsibility I can take for her actions. Sometimes I wonder if she believes her own lies now, if the line between reality and fiction has blurred beyond recognition in her mind. Instead, I focus on protecting myself and helping others do the same. I've learned to recognize the warning signs of manipulation, the inconsistent stories, the convenient emergencies, the pressure to act quickly without verifying facts. These lessons came at a high price, but they've made me stronger. My therapist says healing isn't linear, and she's right. Some days I'm angry about what happened, while other days I feel nothing but pity for Samantha. Living with such dishonesty must be its own kind of prison. For now, I'm taking life one day at a time. My channel continues to grow, and I'm working on a guide for families dealing with fraud by a loved one. The emails I receive from people who've avoided scams because of my videos make the painful journey worthwhile. Trust is still hard, but I'm learning to open up again. Not everyone is a Samantha. Most people are just doing their best, and remembering that helps me stay balanced between caution and connection. I don't know if I'll ever hear from Samantha again, and honestly, I'm okay with that. Some chapters are better left closed, even if the ending wasn't what anyone hoped for. I still get asked sometimes if I ever press charges. The answer is complicated. My lawyer, Karen, advised that we had a solid case for fraud and emotional distress, but pursuing it would mean reliving every painful detail in court. In the end, I chose peace over justice. Some people don't understand that choice, but they didn't live through what I did. The nightmares, the panic attacks in crowded places, the way my hands would shake whenever my phone rang with an unknown number, these were the invisible costs of Samantha's betrayal. Looking back at how it all unfolded still feels surreal. After that final confrontation with Samantha at my cousin Riley's wedding, where she tried to gather sympathy by claiming she had a relapse, I knew I needed proof that couldn't be denied or twisted. The way she'd clutched at her stomach, eyes deliberately watery as she whispered about her spreading cancer to a circle of concerned relatives, all while I'd accidentally seen her medical portal showing all tests negative just days before, was the last straw. My brother William suggested setting up a small team of family members to gather evidence. We called ourselves the Truth Squad. Silly name, but it gave us purpose. William tracked her social media posts, documenting the stark contrast between her chemo days claims and tagged photos at wine tastings and beach parties. My Aunt Elizabeth, a retired nurse, contacted medical professionals to verify claims, carefully navigating privacy laws while confirming what we suspected. My cousin Robert, meticulous to a fault, documented timeline inconsistencies in a color-coded spreadsheet that grew more damning by the day. What we found was worse than expected. Samantha had been running similar scams in 3 different social circles, each unaware of the others. She had a system: gain trust, claim illness, collect money, disappear, repeat. The medical records she'd shown me were altered documents from her sister's actual hospital stay years earlier. She'd even created fake email addresses posing as doctors to send updates about her condition, complete with medical terminology she'd researched online. The hardest part was showing our findings to Uncle Charles, who had donated nearly $10,000 to Samantha's treatment fund. He'd always been the family's rock, and seeing his face crumble as he realized the truth broke something in me. His hands, usually so steady, trembled as he flipped through our evidence folder. He'd skipped his annual fishing trip to afford that donation, believing he was helping save her life. That night, I decided we needed to end this publicly. The annual Thompson family fundraiser provided the perfect opportunity. Nearly everyone Samantha had scammed would be there, including her current targets. I was terrified but determined. My cousin Joseph handled the technical setup, a simple PowerPoint presentation with screenshots, bank records, and video clips. We rehearsed the night before in my living room, timing each revelation for maximum impact while ensuring everything remained factual and indisputable. When Samantha arrived wearing a headscarf and looking deliberately frail, my stomach turned. She worked the room masterfully, collecting hugs and sympathy cards. I watched her accept a homemade quilt from my 78-year-old grandmother, who had spent months working on it despite her arthritis. Samantha's practiced look of grateful vulnerability made my blood boil. At precisely 8:30 p.m., Joseph dimmed the lights and started the presentation. The truth about Samantha Lewis appeared on screen, and the room went silent. For 20 excruciating minutes, we laid out everything: the fake hospital bills, the contradictory social media posts showing her at concerts during supposed chemo weeks, the multiple GoFundMe campaigns under slightly different names. We included voice recordings of her laughing about how easy it was to fool these stupid people, captured accidentally when she butt-dialed my cousin during a night out with friends. I'll never forget her face when she realized what was happening. First confusion, then anger, then a calculated calm as she scanned the room for allies. Finding none, she attempted to flee, but my uncles blocked the exits. The chandelier light caught the tears on my grandmother's cheeks as she clutched the quilt she'd made, now understanding it had all been for a lie. What followed was both satisfying and sad. Backed into a corner, Samantha broke down and confessed. She admitted to faking her illness, to manipulating everyone, to stealing over $50,000 from our combined families and friend groups. Her reasons were pathetic. She liked the attention, needed the money for shopping and vacations, enjoyed feeling special. As she spoke, her voice shifted between defiance and self-pity, never quite reaching genuine remorse. The family elders, led by Grandma Susan, decided her punishment. Samantha would return what money she could, about $15,000 was left, write personal apologies to everyone she'd scammed, and attend therapy in Colorado where her aunt lived. Most importantly, she was banned from family gatherings for 5 years. Some thought this too lenient, others too harsh, but Grandma Susan's word was final. The alternative, legal action, would have torn our extended family apart even further. I thought that was the end of it. For almost a year, life returned to normal. I started dating again, met a nice guy named Reese who worked in IT security and understood my trust issues. His gentle patience as I slowly opened up about my experience experience helped heal wounds I hadn't realized were still raw. I even stopped checking my locks 3 times before bed. Then came the text from a blocked number. "They're making me do this. Help me, please." Attached was a photo of Samantha looking frightened, holding a newspaper from that day. The image was carefully composed, just enough dishevelment to suggest distress, but her makeup remained perfect, her expression more practiced than panicked. Against Reese's advice, I responded, asking for details. Samantha claimed she was being blackmailed by someone who knew about her scams and was forcing her to run new ones or they'd report her to the police. She begged to meet, saying she had proof. Her messages grew increasingly desperate, peppered with phrases like, "You're the only one I can trust," and "I've changed, I swear." My gut said it was another manipulation, but what if it wasn't? I agreed to meet in a public coffee shop, with Reese sitting nearby as backup. He insisted on installing a recording app on my phone, showing me how to activate it discreetly. "Trust but verify," he said, squeezing my hand reassuringly. Samantha arrived looking nothing like the sick girl she'd once pretended to be. Designer clothes, perfect makeup, healthy glow. Her story unraveled quickly. The blackmailer supposedly wanted her to get money from me specifically. When I pointed out the inconsistencies in her story, she grew defensive, then angry. The coffee shop's ambient noise faded as I focused entirely on catching each contradiction, each subtle shift in her narrative. What she didn't know was that I'd been recording our conversation, legal in our state with one-party consent. As she became more agitated, she accidentally revealed she was working with someone new, a boyfriend named Throwray who was better at this game than she was. Her slip occurred mid-sentence, her eyes widening slightly as she realized her mistake. I left the meeting and immediately contacted Throwray through social media. I sent him the recording and explained who I was. To my surprise, he responded quickly, horrified. Turns out Samantha had told him I was a wealthy relative who had stolen her inheritance. He'd been helping her plan what he thought was justice, not a scam. His profile showed a kind-faced man in his 30s, a teacher who volunteered with at-risk youth, exactly the type Samantha would target for his empathy. Throwray agreed to meet me and William the next day. He brought texts, emails, and notes detailing Samantha's plans to target not just me, but 3 other family members. He was genuinely remorseful, explaining that Samantha had manipulated him with stories of abuse and stolen money. The detailed backstory she'd created painted her as a victim of our family's cruelty, complete with fabricated incidents and altered photographs. Armed with this new evidence, we confronted Samantha at her workplace, a boutique where she'd been hired using fake references. The manager allowed us to use the back office. When faced with both me and Throwray, plus all our evidence, Samantha finally broke completely. She admitted everything, including plans to scam my elderly grandmother. Throwray ended their relationship on the spot. The boutique manager, after hearing everything, fired her immediately. Watching Samantha's carefully constructed facade crumble as she realized she had no more cards to play was strangely hollow, not the victory I'd imagined, just sad. This time, we took more serious action. We contacted everyone she'd scammed and organized a group settlement demand. Faced with the alternative of multiple fraud charges, Samantha agreed to sell her car and empty her savings account. We recovered about 80% of the total stolen amount. The remaining 20% we considered the price of a valuable lesson. The family took more permanent measures too. Samantha was removed from all family contact lists, social media groups, and event invitations. When she tried creating new accounts to contact younger cousins, we reported them immediately. Eventually, she moved to Arizona, effectively exiled from the community she'd exploited. I've rebuilt my life with new awareness. My apartment now has security cameras Reese helped install. I've established clear boundaries with new people. Most importantly, I've built a network of trusted allies who understand what happened and watch out for similar patterns. My YouTube channel about recognizing scams has over 50,000 subscribers now. I never use Samantha's real name or show her face, but I tell our story in detail. The comment section is filled with people sharing similar experiences or thanking me for helping them avoid being victimized. Sometimes I wonder what made Samantha this way. Was she born without empathy, or did something break inside her? I'll probably never know. What matters is that she can't hurt my family anymore, and through my videos, I'm helping protect others from people like her. I've been making these videos for almost a year now. Last week, a woman messaged me saying she recognized Samantha from my descriptions. Turns out she was trying to infiltrate a support group for parents of children with rare diseases in a different state. The group admin quietly removed her before she could do any damage. That's when I realized my channel was making a real difference, reaching beyond just sharing my story to actually preventing harm. My brother James calls me every few days to check in. He was the first person who believed me when I started noticing things weren't adding up with Samantha. We talk about normal stuff mostly, his kids, my job, the weather, but there's always that unspoken understanding between us. He saw firsthand how Samantha manipulated our entire family, how she wove herself into our lives with such calculated precision that we never questioned her stories until it was almost too late. The turning point came during that family reunion last summer. Samantha had been claiming she needed expensive treatments for a condition that required specialized care. She had created elaborate fake medical documents, set up fake doctor email accounts, and even had a friend call pretending to be her specialist. The money our family had given her totaled over $30,000 at that point, draining my parents' retirement fund and my cousin's college savings. I had been quietly collecting evidence for months, screenshots of contradicting social media posts where she'd forget which symptoms she claimed to have, videos of her doing physical activities she said were impossible with her condition, medical records that didn't match her stories. I even had testimonies from 3 other families she'd scammed before meeting us. Every night I would stay up late, organizing the evidence, cross-referencing dates, and building a case that no one could deny. The reunion was at my parents' lake house, a beautiful cedar cabin nestled among pine trees with a dock stretching into crystal clear water. Everyone was there, aunts, uncles, cousins, about 30 people total. Samantha arrived late, walking with a cane she suddenly needed, and wearing a medical alert bracelet that wasn't there the week before. She spent the first hour collecting sympathy and checks for her next treatment, moving from person to person with practiced vulnerability in her eyes. I hadn't planned to confront her that day, but when my young niece emptied her piggy bank to help Aunt Samantha get better, something snapped inside me. I connected my laptop to the TV and asked for everyone's attention. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely click through the slides. The weight of what I was about to do, exposing someone my family had come to love, felt crushing, but I couldn't let it continue. The room went completely silent as I showed everything: the fake emails, the contradicting posts, the videos of her rock climbing on days she claimed to be bedridden. I played recordings of conversations where she slipped up about her medical details. I showed financial records of where the money had actually gone: expensive vacations, designer clothes, and a new car. The air in the room grew thick with tension. I could hear my mother's soft crying from the corner of the sofa. Samantha tried everything, crying, claiming I was jealous, saying I had edited the videos, but the evidence was overwhelming. When my cousin Susan, a nurse, started pointing out the medical impossibilities in Samantha's stories, Samantha's face changed. The tears stopped instantly. Her voice became cold and flat. She simply said, "Fine, you got me." The transformation was chilling, like watching someone remove a mask to reveal a stranger underneath. The aftermath was chaos. Some family members wanted to call the police. Others were in shock or denial. My parents were devastated. They had given her the most money and had welcomed her into our family completely. Samantha sat there, emotionless, as if watching a boring movie, occasionally checking her phone as if this confrontation was merely an inconvenience. Eventually, after hours of family discussion that stretched well into the night, Samantha agreed to 3 conditions. She would apologize to everyone individually, pay back as much money as she could, and attend therapy in another state where her sister lived. She left that night, and we thought that was the end of it. We spent the rest of the weekend trying to heal, sharing stories of how she had manipulated each of us differently, tailoring her approach to exploit our individual weaknesses. 6 months later, she returned. She contacted my mother first, claiming she had changed. She said she'd been blackmailed into scamming us by someone who had dirt on her past. She showed my mom texts that seemed to prove her story. My mother, always looking for the good in people, was starting to believe her. The hope in her voice when she called to tell me was heartbreaking. She wanted so badly to believe people could change. I got a call from my cousin Dakota, who worked at the local community center. Samantha had shown up there telling a story about collecting donations for children with the same condition she had claimed to have. Dakota recognized her immediately and called me before Samantha could set up her new scam. His voice was shaking with anger as he described how confidently she was working the room. This time, I wasn't alone in confronting her. James, Dakota, and I met her at a coffee shop, a neutral public place where she couldn't make a scene without consequences. We brought Linda, a woman who had helped Samantha with previous scams, but had since had a change of heart. Linda had reached out to me after seeing one of my videos, her conscience finally overcoming her loyalty to Samantha. When Samantha saw Linda sitting with us, her face went white. Linda had all the details of how they had worked together, how they had picked our family as targets, how they had crafted the medical stories to be just believable enough. Samantha didn't even try to deny it this time. She sat rigid in her chair, her fingers gripping her coffee cup so tightly I thought it might shatter. We gave her 2 choices: leave town permanently and never contact our family again, or we would go to the police with everything we had, including Linda's testimony. She was gone the next day, leaving behind only a half-empty apartment and unpaid rent. Through Linda's help and by tracking down some of Samantha's accounts, we managed to recover about 80% of the money she had taken. More importantly, we recovered our family's sense of trust and safety. My parents installed security cameras at their house. We all became more careful about who we let into our lives. Family gatherings had a different feel now, a mixture of relief that she was gone and lingering caution from the experience. The channel grew faster than I expected. People shared their own stories in the comments. Some recognized Samantha's tactics in their own relationships. Others shared resources for victims of similar scams. A community formed around these shared experiences. Every morning, I'd wake up to dozens of notifications, people finding solidarity, offering support, sharing their own journeys of recovery from manipulation. Last month, a viewer named Michael emailed me saying my videos helped him identify that his girlfriend was faking a chronic illness. He confronted her with evidence, similar to how I had done, and discovered she had scammed 3 other boyfriends before him. He thanked me for saving him from years of potential manipulation. He attached photos of himself smiling again, rebuilding his life, a visual testament to breaking free. I still get messages from Samantha sometimes, new phone numbers, new email addresses. Sometimes she threatens legal action for defamation. Other times she begs for forgiveness or claims to have a terminal illness. I document everything but never respond. The pattern is always the same. When she doesn't get what she wants, she disappears for a while, then tries a new angle. Each message is like a ghost from my past, trying to find a way back in. My therapist says people like Samantha rarely change, they just find new victims. That's why I keep making these videos, not for views or subscribers, but because every person who learns to recognize these patterns is one less potential victim. In our weekly sessions, we work through the residual trust issues I still struggle with, the way I sometimes question even genuine people's motives. Yesterday, I received a package at my door. Inside was a handwritten letter from an elderly woman named Margaret. She wrote that her grandson had shown her my videos, and she realized she had been sending money to a scammer for years. She included a small knitted scarf as a thank you gift. I hung it in my recording space as a reminder of why I do this. The soft blue yarn catches my eye every time I sit down to film, grounding me in purpose. The hardest videos to make are the ones where I talk about the red flags I missed, the inconsistent stories, the convenient emergencies whenever questions arose, the isolation from friends who expressed doubt. I know now that Samantha targeted me specifically because I was trusting and eager to help. She studied me before she ever approached me, learning my vulnerabilities like a predator studies prey. Some viewers ask if I hate Samantha. I don't think I do anymore. I feel sorry for her in a way. She'll never know what it's like to have genuine connections with people. She'll always be playing a role, wearing a mask, moving from victim to victim. That seems like a hollow existence, constantly running, never truly being known or loved for who you really are. My latest video just hit 100,000 views. It's about how to verify medical claims when someone asks for financial help. Simple things like offering to call the doctor's office directly or asking to see original documents rather than screenshots. Basic verification steps that could save someone from going through what my family experienced. The comment section filled with people sharing their own verification strategies, creating a collective wisdom greater than anything I could have developed alone. I'm meeting with a publisher next week. They want to turn my story and advice into a book that could reach even more people. I'm nervous but excited. If even one person avoids being scammed because of what I share, it will be worth it. The manuscript sits half finished on my desk, each page a step toward turning this painful chapter of my life into something that might help others write a different ending to their own stories. I've been staring at this half-finished manuscript for hours now, wondering if I'm really the right person to be giving advice. My coffee has gone cold, the 3rd cup today, as rain taps gently against my apartment window. My phone buzzes with a text from my cousin Rachel. She spotted Samantha at a coffee shop 2 towns over, talking to an elderly man who seemed to be showing her photos of his grandkids. Old habits die hard, I guess. I add this new sighting to my Samantha tracker spreadsheet. After everything that happened, several family members and I created this system to keep tabs on her whereabouts. It's not stalking, it's protection for our community. We have a network of about 15 people across 3 counties who send updates whenever they spot her. The spreadsheet has grown to include dates, locations, and who she was with. Patterns have emerged that help us warn potential victims. I've color-coded entries based on her apparent intentions: red for when she seems to be setting up a new mark, yellow for casual encounters, green for the rare occasions she appears to be doing something harmless. The publisher called yesterday to move our meeting up. They're excited about the book concept, especially after that podcast interview I did went viral. My inbox has been flooded with messages from people sharing similar stories. Some ask for advice, others just want someone who understands. I try to respond to each one, though it takes time away from finishing the manuscript. Last night, I stayed up until 2 a.m. answering emails from 3 different women who recognized Samantha's tactics in people they knew. My sister Olivia stops by with lunch as I'm organizing the final chapters. She's been my biggest supporter through all this. When I first discovered Samantha's lies about her cancer, Olivia was the only one who believed me immediately. She helps me sort through some of the evidence photos we'll include in the book: screenshots of Samantha's fake fundraising pages, medical documents she forged, the wig collection we found in her apartment. The photos bring back memories of that day, the smell of Samantha's expensive perfume lingering in her empty apartment, the hollow feeling in my stomach as we uncovered box after box of evidence. "Did you include the part about the hospital parking garage?" Olivia asks, handing me a sandwich. I nod. That was one of our biggest breaks in exposing Samantha. We had followed her to what was supposed to be a chemotherapy appointment, only to discover she spent those 3 hours shopping at the mall across the street. The security footage from both locations provided undeniable proof. I remember the security guard's face when we explained why we needed the footage. His own mother had gone through chemo the year before. The doorbell rings. It's Thomas, Samantha's former friend who eventually helped us expose her. After Samantha was sent to therapy out of state, Thomas contacted me with a confession. He had helped her create some of the fake social media posts about her treatment progress, not realizing the extent of her lies. When he figured it out and confronted her, she threatened to tell everyone he had known all along. Thomas has brought more evidence for the book. Text messages where Samantha coached him on what to post, along with receipts showing where the fundraiser money actually went, designer clothes, spa treatments, a weekend trip to Vegas. There's even a receipt for a celebration dinner, dated the same day she told everyone her doctor had given her 3 months to live. I heard she's back in town, Thomas says, looking nervous. Is that true? His hands shake slightly as he arranges the documents on my coffee table. I confirm what my cousin reported. Thomas looks worried. He explains that Samantha contacted him last week, asking for help with what she called a small project. He refused and blocked her number, but he's been looking over his shoulder ever since. The dark circles under his eyes tell me he hasn't been sleeping well. This is exactly why the book matters. Samantha isn't just my problem anymore. Her patterns repeat with new victims who don't know her history. Later that afternoon, my phone rings with an unknown number. Against better judgment, I answer. It's Samantha herself, her voice still carrying that musical quality that once made people trust her instantly. She speaks calmly, saying she's heard about the book. She asks if we can meet to clear the air before publication. I decline, reminding her of the restraining order. She laughs softly and hangs up. The sound of that laugh stays with me, raising goosebumps on my arms. I immediately call Officer Martinez, who handled our case when we first reported Samantha's fraud. He takes notes and promises to check on her. The restraining order means she shouldn't be contacting me at all. He reminds me to save the call log as evidence. That night, I can't sleep. I check my security cameras twice. The new system was expensive, but worth it after Samantha tried to break into my apartment 6 months ago. She claimed she just wanted to talk, but the knife in her purse suggested otherwise. I remember how she smiled sweetly at the officers as they handcuffed her, telling them I was the one with mental problems. Morning brings an email from the publisher. They love the first half of the manuscript and are eager to see the rest. I spend the day finishing the chapter about the family fundraiser, where we finally exposed Samantha publicly. It was both satisfying and heartbreaking to watch her facade crumble as we presented our evidence. Some family members still haven't forgiven me for causing a scene, not understanding that the scene was necessary to stop her from hurting more people. My Aunt Carol still crosses the street when she sees me coming, convinced I ruined a sweet girl's life out of jealousy. My phone pings with a news alert. A local woman has been arrested for charity fraud. It's not Samantha, but the methods are identical. I add this article to my research folder. These scams are more common than most people realize. I make a note to reach out to the victims in this new case. Perhaps their testimonies could strengthen the impact of my book. 3 days before my publisher meeting, Thomas calls in a panic. Samantha approached his mother at church, claiming Thomas owed her money. When his mother questioned this, Samantha showed her doctored screenshots of conversations that never happened. I helped Thomas document everything for the police. His mother, a kind woman in her 70s, was shaken by the encounter. Exactly the type of vulnerable person Samantha targets. The day of my meeting arrives. The publisher's office is sleek and modern, nothing like I imagined. They offer me coffee and compliments on my manuscript. They want to fast-track publication and discuss marketing plans that include interviews and a book tour. It's overwhelming but exciting. The editor, a woman with sharp eyes and a sharper mind, suggests adding a resource guide for readers who might recognize similar situations. As I leave the building, I spot a familiar figure across the street. Samantha is watching, not even trying to hide. She's dyed her hair blonde now, but I'd recognize her anywhere. Our eyes meet briefly before she turns and walks away. I report this to Officer Martinez immediately. That evening, my doorbell rings. It's a delivery. Flowers with no card. I don't bring them inside, instead calling the florist to trace the order. As I suspected, they were from Samantha. The florist apologizes, unaware of the situation. The arrangement is all white lilies, the same flowers from the memorial service Samantha had arranged for herself last year when she told everyone she was dying. I finished the manuscript that night, fueled by a mix of determination and anxiety. The final chapter details how our family has recovered from Samantha's deception. We got back most of the money, about 80%, through small claims court and the threat of criminal charges. More importantly, we rebuilt trust among ourselves. Those who initially sided with Samantha eventually saw the truth and apologized. The book goes to print 3 months later. Advance reviews call it a necessary warning and a roadmap for identifying manipulation. Sales exceed expectations, and I receive messages daily from readers who recognize similar patterns in their own relationships. Samantha tried tries one more time to insert herself into my life. She creates a social media account claiming to be the real victim in my story. Few people engage with it. Her power has diminished as awareness has grown. My final update to the Samantha tracker notes that she's moved to another state. Part of me hopes she's starting fresh with honest intentions. The realistic part knows better and has already contacted support groups in that area with her description and methods. The book tour takes me to 12 cities. In each one, someone approaches me with tears and thanks for helping them identify a scammer in their own life. These moments make everything worthwhile. I don't know if Samantha will ever truly stop her manipulative behavior. People like her rarely change completely, but I've done what I can to limit her damage. The spreadsheet continues to receive updates occasionally. The security cameras stay on. The boundaries remain firm. Sometimes I wonder what drives someone to build their life around lies. I'll never fully understand Samantha's mind, and that's okay. Understanding wasn't the point. Protection was. The manuscript that began as therapy for myself has become a shield for others. That's enough.